Hi, everyone, and welcome to our 5-minute webinar series where we uncover important topics in the industry in about 5 minutes. So we've been covering a series of videos in which we've analyzed our recent security benchmarking report on how security's changed in 2020. In our very first segment, we looked at the overall state of the industry, while part 2 looked at the impact the pandemic had on the security industry. Today, we're going to look at the top challenges facing security professionals. Now, before we jump in, let's just take a look at the survey data itself. This report surveyed a sample set of about 300 plus security guard firms within the U.S., ranging in size and scope to accurately represent the industry at large. It provided us a really reliable data set from which to draw our analysis and trends from. Much like the industry, the majority of our sample set had under 250 guards, billed about under 25,000 hours a month, and had between 10 and 15 clients. With this information, we were able to now look at the impact of the pandemic and as well as the challenges that they have. So the next slide actually looks into what these challenges were. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to understand the operational challenges that happen within the security industry, but we also wanted to address some of the challenges that were a result of the current climate of operations in 2020. Columns here that are colored are identified as either a significant challenge or a major challenge. They're highlighted to show the impact. And it's pretty clear here, you could see that the first one, hiring and turnover, had the most impact, which is the same result of last year, but you do see some new challenges that have impacted business. I switched this over to a table view because I think it shows the details a little bit more effectively. The challenges are bolded there on the right. So let's just talk a little bit about each one of these challenges. The first one, obviously, as we discussed, is hiring and turnover. And, despite the challenges felt across the board, this was the most significant one. As we all know, hiring and turnover have been a major challenge for guard firms even before the pandemic. Not only is it hard to find good talent and retain those employees, there are competitive wage rates in other industries that are less strenuous on the individual. Now, with record unemployment and economic downturn, this challenge is compounded exponentially. We're going to drill down a little bit more on how companies are addressing this challenge later in the video. The other challenges are a little bit more evenly dispersed, so let's go run through them and talk a little bit about those. The second challenge we saw was new safety and health protocol enforcement. With so many changes to processes and guidelines for safe operation within the businesses, companies were struggling not only to keep up with the guidelines, but also effectively implement procedures and training for their team on enforcing them. Beyond the actual processes themselves is the ability to actually operate effectively while maintaining a paperless and contactless operation. So many are actually looking towards technology for this. Moving down the list, there was a challenge around compliance risk and liability, which I think is very interesting. With the pandemic creating a certain degree of fear, uncertainty, and doubt, employees working in the field have been concerned about safety and health, and certainly there are some concerns about wage and labor issues, sick leave, hazard pay, and more. Guard firms are especially concerned with worker safety and want to make sure that they are compliant with these regulations, but these are exceptional times. Having proper documentation and traceability and protocols to ensure this compliance has become a key component of the new normal. Another compliance challenge we saw was focus on the government assistance reports, such as the Paycheck Protection Program and the CARES Act. Ensuring proper compliance is another key theme in 2020. Yet another challenge, which seems to recur a lot but is compounded by the events of 2020, is the client-vendor dynamic. So client retention has always been a challenge, but businesses that continue to remain shut down or they've reduced their operations, there's higher turnover in physical security than ever before. Even if clients keep their security contracts, the payments have often been delayed in order to support more core business operations first. So clients that are delaying payment to their security provider, they're paying their own employees or vendors who provide them with critical goods. So guard firms are dealing with slow receivables and are frankly relying on credit to keep their business afloat. The last challenge is one that affects probably more larger guard firms versus smaller ones, and that's remaining competitive through expanded service. When we look at companies with over 100 guards, this was the second highest challenge after hiring and turnover, but it evens out when you bring in the full scope. So many firms are seeing a reduction in on-site guards, as we know, replacing them with more remote operations. And many companies, especially those in corporate America, are seeing a shift to work from home. And there's a lot of empty corporate offices. So guard firms are looking to supplement their on-site resources with technology, whether it's video monitoring, mobile command centers, and other tools that will help continue proper vigilance while requiring less on-site resources. So these are some interesting analysis that we can derive from this, but clearly the aspect of hiring and turnover stands in the highest challenge of all. So that begs the question, how are companies actually finding and retaining talent? So part of the challenge is knowing where and how to find talent. So respondents in the survey were asked what sources they believe to be the most effective in finding good candidates for their operation. Job boards continue to be the favorite source of finding talent. When people are staying home more than normal, job boards are more efficient means of applying for work, leading to a larger talent pool. They also said that having an internal HR team can be more efficient, especially when looking for clients, and more effective at finding qualified ones. And the third highest source was actually referrals, which is a great way to drive recruitment from within the organization or using outside referrals from clients or a network. What was interesting is that almost half were using some form of digital outreach. And of course, with social distancing and lockdowns making it harder for on-site recruiting, digital is really the prime method for many. We also wanted to see if company size had a noticeable effect on how these methods and tools were utilized. Here's a snapshot view of how these tools split out based on companies with under 100 employees versus those with over 100 employees. While firms under 100 employees reflect the overall trends of sourcing talent, larger organizations, 100 plus, used outsourced recruiters and an applicant tracking system in higher numbers. As companies mature and scale their operations, they are able to invest in technology and resources to be more competitive and targeted in their approach to hiring, while smaller firms need to rely on more in-house, lower-cost solutions for hiring. Companies looking to find the best method for attracting talent should really consider their own resources and determine which ones are going to provide the most value for the level of investment they're willing to take on. And with that, my 5 minutes are more than up. So stay tuned for part 4, where we look at the impact of technology on the security industry. If you're interested in downloading the full report, you can do so in the link below or visit thinkcurity.com for some great information on the security industry. Thank you and have a great day.